Hi everyone, welcome to the next video, which is for day one of the 3-day Grand National meeting at Aintree, my local course. Hopefully we have a good 3 days, following on from a pretty successful Fairy House. We had some good winners there, some nice E-trade prices, so fingers crossed. Well, the first race on Aintree Thursday, 2 o'clock, is the equivalent to the Stayers Hurdle, and not a big leap of faith in this. Big Buck should win this, doing handstands. He's never lost at the course. He's won this race 3 times, and he even won over fences, actually. I backed him that day. I was there in a novice's chase, where when you think back, he was 7-2. I actually got 4-1 on the day. That's scary for a horse, what he's gone on to do. And I can't see anything really opposing today. Smad placed is second favourite, and rightfully so, because he got within about 20 lengths of him, whatever it was. No, to be fair, it was about 10 lengths of him at the World Hurdle. Very hard to see him reversing form, but, you know, he should get there each way. However, I think if you're looking for an each-way play, there could be some big value there today. Tidal Bay over fences last time out, behind Long Run at Newbury, run no sort of race. But I do think on his day, he's an enigma, as they always say about this horse. He is capable of throwing a big run. 25-1 could be a big price. Also, a huge price for a horse who got placed in this race last year is One in the Dark. 100-1 in places this morning. He's now into a general 66-1. I think the ground will be fine for him, and he should stay the trip. So if you want a real big interesting play, it could be worth having a little each way on him at 66-1. But in terms of a winner, you can't really look any further than big bucks, really. The second race of the day is basically a repeat of the Triumph Hurdle, really. And the horse I'm going for is the horse I tipped up, actually, in the Triumph Hurdle, which was Grametti. Coming up the hill, he looked like the winner for me between the last 2 flights. Then he slammed into the last and got run out of it into third close home. I believe Connections are looking to hold him up a lot longer today, and I think that will help, because as soon as he got to the front, he did seem to prick his ears. He was very exuberant when he got to the front. You seemed to use a lot of energy, and then was very tired towards the end. So I think the longer they can hold on to him, the better. The ground will be absolutely fine for him. He's had a relatively light season, and I think he's got a great chance today. Countrywide Flame was considered a shock for, well, he was 40-33, 40-1 winner. He's 4-1 today. Yeah, you can understand why he was a winner of the race. However, and one thing you can't get away from is a huge price the last day. So that element again of, was it a fluke, was it a one-off? You know, he might win today. If the form does hold up, then he's got every single chance. It's just 4-1 for a horse. The last time out, that was 30 odds. I don't know. It depends if it was a one-off. Dodging Bullets is very interesting. He finished just behind Grametti on only his second start last time in the Triumph. And he should go well today. A bit more experience. I can see him giving Grametti the most to think about. Sadler's Risk run a decent race back in 6th or 7th. And I did tip up at the time when I did my video for that. It was only his 3rd run, and for the Triumph Hurdle, you usually need a lot more experience. He's got that under his belt. It's just that I don't really feel he's gone on since that first excellent win. And, you know, he could have an each way shout, but I think there's better bets there. An interesting horse for me is Hinterland, who won very, very well on his debut at Cheltenham first time out, before getting beaten at odds on by Baby Mix. He's gone on to be disappointed last time out at the festival, but he went on to win a couple more big profile races. This is his first run away from Cheltenham. I get the impression the course might actually suit him. He came 3rd at Cheltenham on his last run before the festival on trials day. Ruby Walsh actually gave him a very poor ride that day, because he was about 14th coming over the last fence and ended up coming 3rd. So I don't know. He could run a decent race at 8-1. But in terms of a winner, I'm happy to go with Grametti. I think he was a bit unlucky at Cheltenham. He had the best form beforehand, and I think he's a tough horse. And I think if they hold on to him a bit longer, he could have a big say. 305 is the main race of the day, which is the Betfair Bowl. Been some cracking finishing this down the years, and this is a very interesting renewal. The favourite is Riverside Theatre, and rightfully so, you'd say, after his Ryanair Chase win. Connection seemed to think that the step up to 3 Mile 1 will be in his favour. However, 3-1, 130 about a horse where I'm not 1,000% sure, away from the likes of Kempton, where he obviously loves, that it will actually play to his strengths. Now, the horse I do like in this is his stable companion, Burton Port, who technically has got one of the better pieces of form on offer, narrowly going down to Long Run, who then placed, despite running a bit below par, in the Gold Cup. He was in the Grand National. He took him out to go in this race, and I always think that's got a big impact on a lot of things that when you're in a race like the National and you take him out for something like this. He's got the benefit of having AP McCoy on his back. He's got cracking course form. He's won over fences and hurdles around here before. And I think, well, we know he stays, and for me, he's a better. You can get 5-1. I'm actually just seeing it pop up now on Bet365. You can do him each way. If he doesn't fall, I can't see him not being in the first three. Hopefully, anyway. So he's my idea of a bet there. The amazing story of the season of Huntball, who were tipped up at Cheltenham and absolutely hosed in, continues, where he's now gone from a ridiculously low handicap in November to a group race here, 11-2. Do you know what? He'll stay the trip. He's been a cracking jumper. The ground should be fine. My only one concern is, other than obviously the huge step up in class, he's had a long season. You can say he's had easy races, but he's been out something like 7 or 8 times this season already, Huntball, and it was a huge weight he carried at Cheltenham. I hope he runs a cracking race. I wouldn't be disappointed if he lost, even though I'm not doing him today. However, I just think he might just get caught. Medemy's an interesting one, staying on behind Riverside Theatre in the Ryanair Chase. He's run a couple of cracking races in defeat this season. To be honest, I actually fancy Medemy to finish in front of Riverside Theatre today, because I think Medemy looks like he's crying out for the trip more than Riverside Theatre is. So he could have a very good each way shout at around 11-2, 6-1. And then once again, if you're looking for a huge price, Diamond Harry, he's had, well, everyone knows about his troubles over the season, but on his day, he is a very, very good horse. He's 16-1. He's got the possibility of running into a place. I can't see him winning a race like this off level weights, but he could run a big race. But in terms of my 1, 2, 3 in this, I think Burton Port, I fancy to win from Medemy, and Riverside Theatre, he should be there or thereabouts, but not a 1 for 3-1 really for me today, I'm afraid. The 340 is the race over the Grand National fences, which is the Fox Hunter. And the horse, well, the first horse I'm going to speak on, which I couldn't believe it when I saw him in the decks because he's been off for that long, but back in his day he was a real superstar, and that is My Way to Solson. He must be some horse. Well, as I said, back in his younger days, he went from winning the World Hurdle in the March, obviously over 3 mile one over hurdles, and then the following summer turned up and won the Arkle over 2 miles, which is an absolute staggering performance, really. He's obviously very hard to get ready. He has last run was well over a year ago now, and his last run before that was a year ago. However, both times he won over his hurdle days, he went best fresh. He's by far the classiest horse in this field, and if he takes to these national fences, he clearly stays. If you've won a world hurdle, you're clearly going to stay this trip. He could take a lot of beating at around 7-1 My Way to Solson. He's going to have a bit of my money today. Guanaco's the favourite at 7-2. Why not? He's won over around here before, but he's also fallen a couple of times around here before. And, you know, the Nichols does have a good record over the national fences, or not the main Grand National, but the smaller races over it. Not necessarily winning. They had Montparnasse go close last year. And usually, you know, he can ready a horse for it without winning. But as I said, around 3-1, 7-2. You're going to be doing it to win, and I think there's better bets there. Boxer George got placed last year, and Willie Mullins has brought him over again. However, he was beaten a long, long way last year, and, you know, he's another year older. You're going to struggle to see him turning it around. Cloudy Lane, about 3 years back, started favourite for the Grand National and won a cracking race, if we're being fair. He's been in decent form this season before, disappointing, I think, at Cheltenham. He should have done a lot better than he actually did in that Fox Hunters race. I just wonder, you know, if he's lost a bit of enthusiasm now, because he has had a relatively tough season. Had 4 or 5 races, which when you're getting on can take it out. But Cloudy Lane, if going back over these fences for the first time in a while might reinvigorate him, then you can see Cloudy Lane going close. And Offshore Accountant's been favourite for this race a couple of times, and he's always run pretty well here. He's 16-1. And, you know, there's worse bets on the card if you're looking for a bigger each way price, because obviously the national fences pose a lot of risk. There's a lot worse bets you could have today than that. But I'm happy to go with My Way to Souls, and I think he could run a big place. Guanaco, Boxer George, Cloudy Lane should all be there or thereabouts. Big one on this, Bet365 for 1. I've announced that they're giving top 4, even though it's not a handicap. My local bookmaker, which is Coral, I went down there this morning, are only giving 3. So obviously if you can get 4 places, go for it. The 415 is a very tricky handicap chase, and you get some big turn-ups in this. Wazo Denui last year made it an absolute shocker of an air early on before coming through. And do you know what? He could run a big race again at around 11-1. The interesting thing, he was going pretty well in the final race at the festival before being brought down, the race he won last year. He comes alive in the spring, and providing he's none too worse for being brought down, he could run a very big race, as could Silk Drum, who those two fought out the finish last year. Though Silk Drum's form hasn't been as good this year. So I'm more happy to go with 11 to 1 Wazoo if we're looking at that. Though I think Eduardo Sol for Nichols and Walsh will take a lot of beating here. Run a very creditable race at the festival. This race, okay, it's over fences, is a lot weaker than that race, and he's off a lower mark. So if he actually takes the fences, he's my idea of a good thing in this one, Edgardo Sol, if he puts his best foot forward. Tanks for that is top weight and is a very good horse. However, looking through his form, he seems to save his best for Cheltenham. He's never run around this course before. As I said, he had a relatively tough race last time, and you just don't know if they're over the top. Kid Cassidy ran no sort of a race in that same one as Wazoo Denui. When relatively fancied. I think it was the Grand Annual at Cheltenham. However, apparently it was the bigger field side that he wasn't massively keen on. Now, this is a 10-horse race. This could be more to his liking, and providing he hasn't taken too much, that could be a good bet at 7 to 1 as well. But if I wanted to pick 3 for this, I think Edgardo Sol is my idea of a bet 6 to 1. Obviously, you can do it each way. Wazoo Denui, I can see running a huge race if he's got over being brought down, and Kid Cassidy should run a lot better than he did at Cheltenham. The 450 is the 2.5 mile novices chase, and I must be honest, I was pretty shocked at the field only being 5 horses, really. My idea of a good bet in this, though, possibly could be Alpha Off. He run 2 non-novices very, very close early on in his this season, actually, at Ascot, which was Summersby and, well, the champion chase winner, Finian's Rainbow. The step up and trip should be a lot better, and Ruby Walsh made a comment after he won on Alpha Off at Sandown at Christmas saying, I'd love to ride him in the King George, so he obviously feels he's got an engine and he's going to stay. I think he made the mistake of trying to actually beat Sprinter Sacre at Cheltenham, and that's why he made that massive error. He went on very soon and he was being aggressively ridden by Ruby Walsh. In a way, you've got to respect that, because you weren't just playing second fiddle for it. You paid the price, but at least someone was going to try and have a go at him there. They should go a shade slower here, and I think Alpha Off could be a good bet in a small race. Menora's 5 to 1, though obviously his jumping is incredibly suspect. He came 3rd in the Arkle this year, which surprised a lot of people given his jumping, but even then he still made mistakes. I'm not 100% convinced the step up and trip will necessarily suit him. I wouldn't be touching Menora today at 5 to 1. And Pepite Rose has been another revelation for Venetia Williams this season. Keeps on winning, keeps on improving on the bridle. However, I can see her filling second slot because she's never come up with anything the likes of Alpha Off before. And I think Alpha Off will win this with Pepite Rose filling the second place. Now, the last race of day 1 at Cheltenham is the 525, which is a really, really hard competitive hurdle. However, Ghoul and Bursty here jumps off the page to me. The winner of this race in the past has usually been quite fresh, and the others I'm about to mention all have had relatively tough races in the last few weeks, but Gull and Bursty's got some cracking placed efforts behind Rocky Creek, who's highly thought of by the Nichols Yard, and Knock Hand or something it was called. He only got beaten a quarter of a length. He's off a really nice rate of 11-1. Emma Lavelle really knows how to ready a horse for a handicap, and currently around 5 to 1, 11 to 2. I think he's got a cracking chance of each way chance, and he's my idea of the winner. Our Father actually tipped up again at Cheltenham and was run a very bizarre race. He was heavily backed as if losing was out of the question into 11 to 2. However, he had a good pitch. He then lost his pitch, run on again, and then was very tired towards the end. So the race wasn't run to suit. It was a very nasty, bustly race. But Our Father, if bouncing back to form, could have a good shout. Cape Tribulation won at the festival, though this is another mega weight he's carrying again today. I kind of got the impression everything was aimed at Cheltenham. So while 12 to 1 he could run into a place, it'll take a lot of faith to think he'll actually win. And the same with Son of Flicker, who'd shown nothing before Cheltenham, really. Huge gamble and went in. I think that was his day in the sun. I'll be very surprised if he comes out again today, though obviously being a McCain horse in Liverpool, it wouldn't be a big shock, and it'll be nicely cheered by the Aintree crowd today. If you're looking for a horse at a bigger price, I did Volador at Utoxeter last time, and he got a brilliant ride by Richard Johnson. He was so tough, kept on staying on all the way to the line, turning in. He was the first one niggled, but kept on staying and staying and staying. He's very tough. And you know, sometimes you need a tough horse to get through a race like this. So there could be worse bets on him. He's currently between 16 and 20 to 1. But that was a very tough race at Uttoxeter. So I'm happy to go with Ghoul and Bursty here and keep an eye out for our father, because one of these days he's going to go in, because he's a very classy horse and the race just might be run to suit him better today. So there we go. Thanks a lot. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.